Welcome, fans, to thehannibaltv.com to another edition of the Shooting from the Hip podcast. My name is Jack Kilby, of course, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling. There's the run in early. My man keeps me guessing. Of course, who else would I be talking about but the one, the only, the king of the streets, Kingpin Angel Medina.
Yo, what's up? Doing good, brother. Hey, look at my cup. Legends not guilty. I was thinking of getting a Trudeau one to have a matching set.
that is a topic that is verboten here with myself. So some things are better left unsaid. In terms of today's show, this is another one in the series of what if. What if certain events in pro wrestling history had turned out a different way? And a lot of meat on this topic, given her current incarcerated status for a lengthy period of time. That would be what if Tammy Sytch, Sunny, her career took a more positive turn.
Absolutely, a better turn instead of what's happening with her right now. It's just crazy how her life just spiraled down. It just astonishes me. The woman had the world in her hand.
Well, yeah, and we'll get to that within the context of this discussion. The stat that always two things always stick out to me in terms of Sunny. One being that she was arguably, if not non-arguably, the first WWE diva, if you don't count Miss Elizabeth, the late Miss Elizabeth, who had clearly a different role in terms of television. But the second one being that in 1996, she was the most downloadable woman in the world, according to America Online. Wow. Talk about going from the penthouse to the outhouse.
But it's funny. I think Elizabeth is phenomenal, but I think there was more of a spotlight on Sunny. I mean, even though Elizabeth had a spotlight, I think it was a broader one because they were really trying to push Sunny to the top. So, I'm not saying apples and oranges, but I think they gave her a little bit more to give her a bigger push compared to what they did for Elizabeth. But bro, before we get started, man, it's crazy how this whole week is just releases and releases and releases. I knew it was going to come down with the hammer. When they was releasing the vice president of this and the CEO of that. I mean, it was eventually going to be trickled down because it was to the talent. But I was so surprised. Hey, what's up, Richie? I was so surprised that they let go of like Shelton Benjamin and they got a Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler and Shelton Benjamin are two phenomenal athletes. Now the other people, understandable because they haven't, earned their, they haven't showed anything like this is a valuable commodity. But they just drop the motherfuckers like fly, especially Riddle. But I knew he had heat with UFC, so it's not because of his talent. It's because they were like, fuck him. It's just like Vince McMahon with Jeff Jarrett. You're fired. When you're fired, it's because he did that angle with what happened between them.
Well, I think Riddle is an interesting, as I mentioned in the updates to the Hannibal TV viewers. Riddle is an interesting case because he'd been with the company since 2017. He was over. He had that team with Randy Orton that was over. He moved merchandise, but I think it's probably a culmination of heat with Dana White and heat within the company because his behavior was certainly erratic. There was that recent Instagram post about being sexually assaulted, all the assorted other sundry rumors that accompanied him. So that was unfortunate, but I'm sure Mr. Khan will pick him up. What I would like to add before I get to Shelton Benjamin is Elias. I, for the life of me, do not know how they messed that particular talent's push up. He had all the physical tools. He was a good hand in the ring. That guitar gimmick was over. The fans were behind him in the Walk with Elias era, and boom, marginalized. He must have had some kind of heat backstage that that company is known for. No matter how talented you are and seemingly have money on you, that marginalization occurs. With respect to Shelton Benjamin, I agree. Completely underutilized. A former competitor in Great North Wrestling, and I'm going to throw this out there right now. Shelton, if you're watching, please DM me, get in touch with me on Facebook, because we would be more than interested, to say the least, to bring you into Great North Wrestling once again in 2024. I think how they misused him, to say the least, is again another head scratcher. Has there ever been a better pure athlete in that organization than Shelton Benjamin?
No, I mean, besides Kurt Angle, Steve Blackman, I mean, but yeah, he like his gimmick is he is the gold standard. I mean, he falls in that's realm that's going down the sunny path. All he does is smoke weed. I don't really think he's gonna fuck with him in his career.
Well, we won't get into the prurient side of things here, but there's other information that he may have been into other stuff, but that's neither here nor there. We're gonna, as I said in the Hannibal TV updates, the best possible outcome in terms of these talents is, you're released from a major organization, guaranteed money, but you're going to be in demand on the independent scene for sure. And you can basically, for 6 months after the 90-day no compete, name your price. So yeah, another interesting week on the heels of the following week, where 100 staff in the office were released, or other departmental staff.
The only thing that I'm thinking about, if that 90-day no compete, there could be a possibility. Could be, since the transition over to a new company, they might like just say, "Hey, do what you want." So we don't know, because Vince doesn't own the company anymore, and maybe TKO would just say, "Hey, you got to make money, so you're free to go." I don't think they'll hold them to that standard, because Rob Feinstein just reached out to Riddle to do some stuff. So, again, I don't know they're holding them to that agreement.
Well, maybe it's for television wrestling appearances, or wrestling in general, but definitely we'll be watching that, and wish all of those talents, some of which I'll admit I'm not a huge NXT follower anymore after the golden era there, but those talents that I may not have been aware of, wish all the best to them, because the number one goal in this business is to have more viable places for talent to ply their trade, and I'm sure they will land on their feet. But before we get into the sunny discussion, the last time we did a show, Angel, you were in the process of awaiting Kingpin surgery, so to speak. Can you give the fans an update as to how that went?
It went pretty good, man. I mean, it wasn't a pleasant experience when I woke up from anesthesia, but they had a nerve block in my leg, so I didn't really feel it. But I'm not lying to the fans. I hate being in the cast. It was freaking me out. But right now I'm still in the cast. I got 2 more weeks, and then I get into a boot. I think it's like 50% weight bearing on that. Maybe walk with a crutch or something. And then after that is 3 more weeks in the boot, full weight bearing. So my leg is fine. I can move it. No complications, but I also take a lot of supplements and stuff like that to like speed up my healing process. So yeah, I mean, I'm doing fabulous, man. And thank to the fans reaching out and wishing me your best health. So thank you for that.
Well, we absolutely are on Team Kingpin, and we'll be keeping tabs on your progress, because we have a lot of good stuff planned for GNW in 2024, and I have a feeling that the Kingpin may very well be a part of that. So
I appreciate
fans,
that. Absolutely.
Stay tuned to the Hannibal TV, and we'll keep you updated. But now on to the topic of the hour, and that is Tammy Sytch Sonny's career. In terms of her early career in the wrestling business, she, according to Jim Cornette, made an immediate impression with Smoky Mountain Wrestling by way of her natural charisma, her understanding of the business, and her natural heel tendencies that really translated into television. And I'm sure you've seen some of those classic vignettes from Smoky Mountain, especially when she was training the large individual and being dismissive. When you first saw Tammy, was that your impression too, that she was still a teenager, apparently going or about to go to college at that time? Were you impressed with that level of pro wrestling acumen that translated on screen?
You mean when I first met her? Or you just
No,
talking
when
about
you first
saw her?
became aware of her and her early work.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I thought she was smoking hot. I mean, when I saw, I think it was in Wrestling Illustrated where I saw a picture of her in Smoky Mountain, being a valet for Chris Candido. I mean, she felt like, oh man, but I never saw her in action. I just heard some positive things. She was good on the stick. She was able, she had the good looks, and she was really, had some, like possibilities of becoming really successful. So I saw the talent in her just by reading the sheets. Back in the days, it was just the magazines. That's all I collected. But on the word on the street, is she was getting a lot of positive encouragement, a lot of positive affirmation. So yeah, she was not that bad looking either.
The interesting part for me, if you listen to Cornette discuss his early experiences with her, is the fact that she seemed to, despite being a rookie in the industry, seemed to be, I don't want to say an attitude problem, but very sure of herself initially, even when basically making first appearances, and that has been, as we'll get into in a minute, has been extrapolated to mean arrogance at a young age. What are your thoughts of a performer like that at the start of their career that's already exhibiting I want to say self-confidence, but can be interpreted as arrogance in the locker room?
No, but I'll be honest. There's a difference between being sure of yourself and being arrogant. And I think just a lot of the women in the business, guys be kissing their ass and giving them, hyping them up, so they never really trained her in the beginning to be humble. So when everybody was kissing her ass, oh, you're so beautiful, I could take you places, I mean, it's not her fault, but when you get gassed up like that, then you're like, man, my shit don't stink. I mean, think about it. If it was a man and all the females like Shawn Michaels, all the women want you, you're gonna have a big ego because you that you're the shit. So it's the same thing. Nobody ever humbled her because they were all up in her ass, enjoying like, oh, sunny days, you're so beautiful, da da da. And that's why she was acting the way she act, because she was on that pedestal.
Yeah, and that quickly translated into signing with the WWF and being brought in with a man who I've made no bones about admiring his work. No gimmicks needed, Chris Candido, and for some reason they were given that
Body Donnas.
That rather, I was going to say clunky gimmick of the Body Donnas, and they came in and with that gimmick seemed to be destined for perpetual mid card status. When you first became aware of that, what was your thoughts? Comedy act or something else?
Oh man, I knew it was a drizzling shits. I mean, not because of the talent, being a Dr. Bruce Pritchard and Candido. It's just that when you see, it's like seeing like the new rockers. When you like Leaf Cassidy and Marty Jannetty, and you're like, shit, garbage. It's just it was just not. It was not grabbing anybody, I mean, but again, what can you say? Look at Goldust. When I first saw Goldust, I was like, what the fuck is that? And I was like, that's the shits. I would hate it. But then it took off. So again, You never know. But I'll be honest, if they gave me the body down a gimmick, I would be miserable mentally, but I would still do my job. But it was just, yeah. If it was Sunny wasn't there, that's what it was catching everybody's attention with her. But if it was just them, they would have just definitely fell to the wayside quickly.
Yeah, and if you listen to Dr. Tom Pritchard in terms of his tenure with that team, they were well aware that it was kind of an albatross gimmick, but they were professional. They did their job, and they were hoping that especially in that period of WWF when they first came in, you're talking about a downturn in the business, and they were hoping that they would somewhat transcend that gimmick, and Sunny clearly did, and became larger than the Body Donnas
Oh yeah.
themselves. And from the perspective of someone who's wrestled, can you think of any other situation, Liz, Randy, Hogan, Mega Powers, maybe the one comparable that I'm thinking of, but can you think of any other situation where a valet has gone on to in a team unit, of course, with Sable, but prior to the Body Donuts, has gone on to surpass the individuals that she was paired with?
Sapphire. No, no. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, every valet that I've been seeing from after Sunny never caught the fans' attention more than Sunny. So I can't really come up with a. I mean, look at Deuce and Domino, and I can't even remember her name. She came to the ring with roller skates.
Jerry.
Yeah, and also fucking Joey Mercury and his partner with Melina, right?
Melina, yes.
Yeah, Melina. Yeah, so yeah, her. I mean, again, yeah, it was nice eye candy or fucking man, I'm getting CTE. The Trish Stratus, not Trish Stratus. Sorry, the girl who came out the Dudleys, who's with
Stacy Keebler.
Thank you, Stacy Keebler. Again, she has some awesome legs, but she didn't grab the fans the way Sunny did. That's my only thought pattern.
Well, she clearly became a like a mainstream pop culture phenomenon, which resulted in that tagline as the first real WWE diva with the machine behind her is definitely accurate, because if you think back, Sunny led there were the posters, the magazines, on and on and on, with her as the preeminent personality. So she ended up the Body Donnas, and then moving on to managing
LOD.
Yeah. Well, before that, actually, the Smoking Guns.
The
Remember
Godwins,
that?
right? Didn't she do with the Godwins too?
Well, that's one of the items that we'll talk about. But she started off from the Body Donnas, managing Billy and Bart Gunn, the Smoking Guns, had that program with the Godwins, and I happened to interview Henry Godwin on this channel. If you're so inclined, fan out, search it out on this channel. He talks about the heat that Sunny had even during that period of time, that resulted in the famous slop bucket incident, where she was doused with a bucket of slop that included, well, let's just say human waste. So at that stage of the game, her ego, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, had clearly gotten out of proportion.
Yeah.
Then went on into the failed LED 2000, sorry, LED LOD 2000. That was a Freudian slip given her outfit. The LOD 2000 Road Warriors experiment that was perhaps doomed from the start, given the issues that Hawk was going through at the time. Just going back to that particular managerial role, what were your thoughts when Sonny first came out unannounced with the Road Warriors?
What were my thoughts? I mean, the Road Warriors don't need a manager. I mean, the Road Warriors always is Paul Ellering, so putting her with the Road Warriors was not putting them, giving them any, putting them over. So they needed to put her somewhere. And they figured LOD, because I think LOD was supposed to get her over. Because, like I said, they don't need to get in, and they need the help. So I think it was a big mistake for putting in there, because, again, everybody's like, what the fuck is Paul Ellering? That's, I mean, when I saw it, it didn't really do much for me. It was just stupid.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange creative direction, given the fact that she was over at the time, and the LOD were transitioning into that kind of legends status. So they didn't need a manager, and she didn't need them. So predictably, that tanked. Moving into that phase of her career afterwards, we all can recall the issues that she had, I guess, legit shoot issues with Rena Marrow or Sable, and the problems with her alleged or not alleged addiction issues really came to the forefront at that stage of the game. What do you recall about that animosity that was played out, I guess, on some of those? Again, those under probably 40 don't remember AOL chats, live chats, but they were the forerunner to many things. But Sonny was on record as bashing Sable, so to speak, on a number of those, and I guess it was close to physical altercation status backstage. What are your thoughts of Sable and the juxtaposition with Sonny?
I mean, Sonny was hating, I mean, the thing is, my thought pattern is that Sonny, no, every female's a threat, and she's going to shit on them no matter what. And she wants to be the, jokingly, the alpha male of the group. So I think she was just shitting on her because, again, she figured she was a threat, and that's the problem. She just wanted to be the main focus of the organization. And when other females were coming in, she just had to make sure that she could be able to kibosh them and make them look like shit. Did she? No, but she wanted to express herself out to the fans, that she didn't like her, that she, whatever. I can't remember what she said, but she just felt threatened. That's what it was.
So then in 98, she was released after missing shows, not showing up for interviews. And then, of course, the rumor was that she had major addiction issues. And again, Sable was cited as a centerpiece of that because Sable seemed to be outshining her at the time, got the Playboy deal, blah, blah, blah. And then Sonny is portrayed as a very divisive influence backstage. When you first caught the Sunny Days comment with Shawn Michaels
and Bret Hart
and Bret, I know I watched that live, and I wasn't exactly quote unquote smart at that point in time, but it was very clear that that was a double entendre. Was that your interpretation of the comment?
Well, being in ECW, I heard the story through the grapevine that she was smashing Shawn Michaels. So, but because people were like, man, I can't believe she's doing that to Candido, because they said Candido knew about it. But yeah, when it came on TV, I was like, I knew what they were talking about. So I mean, and I heard Bret Hart was hot because that was not supposed to be said, because apparently his wife was watching or whatever, or she was in the audience, causing the heat. So yeah, when I first heard it, I just popped for it because I knew the story behind it. Like I said, I told you, I met Sunny when she came to ECW, and I never really liked her, because not because of who she was, because she thought her shit didn't stink. And, she, when I tried to say hi to her, she's like, like she just had an attitude, so I never really liked her.
So yeah, that's germane that you segued into ECW. She left or was released or whatever the deal was with WWF,
Mhm.
came into ECW. Did you, in terms of aside from her attitude there, were you aware of the information that she was basically with Chris paying a lot of Paulie's expenses?
No, I wasn't previous to that. I mean, I didn't know. Like I said, she didn't really talk to none of us. I didn't really know anything. Shit, I didn't even know like the story with Just Incredible put it out there where Kendi was taking a shower and she wanted PJ to fuck her. I wasn't even aware of that. But like I said, she kept her distance because again, she felt like she was like the top dog, and she didn't associate herself with Mick Carter's and stuff. So I didn't really hear anything in ECW negative or positive. Like I said, after she put a bad taste in my mouth, I never paid attention to her.
Were you aware of why her tenure with the company was not very protracted, and then went to XPW for a while?
No, I mean she came in. I didn't know what happened in regards to the downfall with ECW. One day she was there, and the next day she wasn't. I mean, she was there at a couple shows. I still remember. Like we were in Pennsylvania, and it was a house show. I can't remember who Candido wrestled. Then I saw her at another show. I think I seen her like 3 different occasions. But again, it could have been more because again, once I didn't like her, I really didn't pay attention to her. So I didn't really acknowledge her. I shook everybody's hand, but I never really talked to her. So I really didn't get involved in her personal business in regards to what happened. Once she was gone, I'm like, yeah, she's gone. I was more focused on me.
So, from your perspective or your experience with her, she came into ECW and was big leaguing the talent.
Yeah, man. I mean, she hung out with Francine. Of course, Francine was the top individual. Shane, but she was just never. She never, like I said, she just didn't want to deal with the Mick Carters, the locker room. Like I said, so I really didn't really talk to her that much, and she was just like a kind of a disgusting individual anyway. Because I remember, it's just funny because I remember when I went into the locker room, don't know where it was, but I went in the locker room to talk to somebody, and she was there like peeling the skin off her back of her heels. It's like a little razor thing that you like take away the calluses of the back. She was peeling that motherfucker off like an apple, and she had no makeup, so she looked, like you know, just blah. So, like I said, she just didn't associate herself with other people. She stayed with Chris, she stayed with Shane, Francine. She was just not very sociable.
Were you aware, or although obviously not directly privy to, but were you aware of the rumors at that time pertaining to her rampant drug abuse?
That's one thing I never saw. I never saw anything about her drug abuse. I mean, shit, I stay away from all that. I didn't do any of that stuff. Once in a while, Soma here or there, a couple beers, but I never was in the clique like DeVito loved to smoke the Smiz. He always hung out with RVD and the boys. I didn't smoke. So that's one thing about me that I just never paid attention to other people's vices. I was just more focused on me. And I just didn't know she had a drug issue in the locker room at the time. Because again, I didn't associate myself with her. I kept my distance, so I never really noticed it. Now, if you're talking about Balls, Axel, New Jack, people that I was involved with, yes, I seen the drug use all the time. But compared to her, I just never noticed it.
Okay, so one day she's there, the next day she's not. Brief foray into XPW, then signs with WCW, her and Candido, and then that isn't very long, to say the least. And there were rumors there at the time that a syringe was found in the WCW locker room, and she was let go as a result. So that kind of ended her mainstream, so to speak, career. So we would like to now take a look at the flip side of that coin. starting with, what do you think would have happened if her managerial or valet career would have thrived, and what would you see coming out of that in terms of successful partnerships, additions to storylines, that sort of thing?
Oh, I mean, if she wasn't on the drugs and just she had, like I said, besides Elizabeth, she would have. I mean, they were pushing her real hard, so she could have made. I mean, tons and tons of money working for WWE for years to come. I mean, she was still a good looking woman when she did the Hall of Fame award. So I mean, she just had the it factor. And she could have made a lot of profits, from movie deals to, maybe she would have got a deal with Playgirl just to do that. That would have been a killer. The Sunny Doll, that would have been a killer. If she would have kept her nose clean and really like focused on her career, the sky was the limit. And I think they, like I said, if they were putting her with LOD and the smoking guns because they just didn't know what to do with her. I don't know if the problems were occurring that time, but again, she was doing commentary. At the time,
Mhm.
I remember she could have been successful doing that. She could have been the leader of the roster. Like right now, she could have been in the locker room dealing with the females because she has all the knowledge, all the know-how to help them succeed. But she just kept fucking it up, with the DUIs and all that stuff. And like I said, she had the whole world in her hands. No pun intended to way back. but I just say she did. She just had, I think whatever she would have asked for, they would have gave it to her.
Yeah, you touched on the potential role that she could have had backstage in terms of helping young talent navigate the industry, her mentorship. She What are your thoughts in terms of the so-called women's revolution and the role that she could have played with such talents as Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, in the aspect of, obviously those aforementioned are very, very capable and exceptional athletes, but by way of mentoring them towards the industry and learning TV and getting more of a personality, that sort of thing.
Well, the only thing is that you got to remember, Sunny was not a wrestler
Hmm.
because I never really see it. I mean, besides cat fight or and stuff, compared to Bailey and Charlotte Flair and the Boss, I mean, they. I'm sorry, Sunny can't compare to that because she didn't have the training. But if she would have put some effort into some training, maybe she would have been more successful. But I think she was just like I said, a valet. So that's the only thing because I seen her wrestle, like do some matches, and she just did cat fights, pulling hair and stuff like that. So she was. It's just so hard to compare. Like I said, Charlotte Flair is a totally different beast. Bailey, all of them, totally different animal. So I just can't compare Sunny to them. It's not fair.
Exactly. Here's a question from a big supporter of the Hannibal TV, Betrayed by Sins. He's asking, do you feel that the death of Chris contributed more into her downfall? And Candido at the time, for those that don't know, was away from the national stage for a while, and then signed with TNA and had some banger matches against AJ Styles being one of them, and then unfortunately passed away due to a blood clot issue. Although they weren't together at the time, do you think that accelerated her substance abuse?
I think so because she felt a lot of. I mean, I'm just going off of my assumption that she felt a lot of guilt because I heard stories that she was just doing a lot of stuff in front of him, and again maybe he was battling insecurities, and stuff like that. Now the blood clot thing in his leg. I mean, he just had surgery. You're not supposed to fly, and he flew, and that's what gave him the blood clot. And the only reason I said that because the doctor told me about my leg. Say, hey, if you can, don't fly because you might get a blood clot. It go into your lungs, you could die. So it's the same thing, but his was broken. But yeah, I mean, if her downfall is probably guilt, man. I mean, she was treating the guy like shit. She was doing things in front of him, and then he fucking dies. I mean, I think she was out of guilt, man. She took a massive downward spiral, man. And then she was bipolar too, so that shit crazy, And I heard that from the boys, you know.
Mhm. So, what do you think could have spun out of her more successful career trajectory in terms of the entrepreneurial side that many of the workers today are involved in? Do you see her having some kind of enhanced merchandise line, putting her name to a female wrestling school, any of those sort of things? We know that she. This is an interesting point of discussion given the entrepreneurial endeavors that she was involved in, starting with that Wrestling Vixens website with Missy Hyatt,
Oh
and
yeah,
I forget who the third person was involved in that, but and then in much later years, delving into hardcore porn. But do you think she would have had, aside from that, any kind of influence on business lines for herself that would have provided some financial security?
dude, she could have had massive financial. I mean, podcasting. I mean, look at Francine. She's doing podcasting. She's doing great. I mean, like I said, she had the it factor to make successful. She could have come out with a makeup line. She could have came up to, I mean, she could have went to the UFC and did commentary. She could have been a fucking, I'm not saying she could have. I'm just saying that she could have had doors would have opened for her, and that's the thing, man. She was a valuable asset, and anything she touched would have turned to gold. Because, like I said, when she did that bikini spread for WWE, that was like the highest downloadable or whatever. I can't remember, but it was like high. So she could have made her mark and made tons of money. Because, like I said, she had the ability and she had the connections. So she would have been hand over fist money, merchandise and everything.
Yeah, as I touched on earlier, in 1996, she was the most downloaded woman in the world,
Yeah.
according to America Online, and really started that whole craze of tapes for divas and this, divas and that were basically softcore bikini shoots, etc. But switching to her personal life, do you think? I mean, this latest tragedy is just that for the individual that she ended up killing in what had to be her upteenth DUI, and is looking at well, she's awaiting sentencing right now, pleaded no contest, and is looking at several
25
decades.
years.
Yeah, behind bars, and at 50 years old, that's pretty much a life
70
sentence.
So 50, 70, 80. Shit. Yeah. 50, 60,
Yeah.
70. Should be 75.
Yeah.
25 years.
Barring early release or anything like that, but who knows what the cards hold there. But anyway, a significant period of time behind bars. If she would have had a more successful career, do you think that would have impacted this ultimate tragic outcome for the family and the individual that she ended up killing?
I mean, the individual that like I said, this woman, like I said, in the WWE, it was like you said, 96. The WWE magazine had record sales. It was downloadable, and like I said, if she would have kept clean, not drink, not pop pills, whatever she was doing, it would have definitely pushed her to a level of success. I mean, I feel bad. I still feel bad for her because, again, she put herself in that situation, but killing that. What was he? 75? The old man that she killed, like
74,
70s,
I think,
70.
around there.
Yeah, and she got caught numerous times driving intoxicated, and they just kept not giving her a break, but she kept getting released. How many DUIs did she have? You think?
Oh man, I read that around the time of the latest crash, and we're talking close to 20.
20 DUI arrests?
Close.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's just, I mean, they put her out there, um, on the streets, knowing that she might have been, her license was suspended, but didn't stop her from driving. You know, so it looks like she had the DUI in 2015, 2018, 2019, and 2022. So yeah, man. I mean, like I said, she had a lot of talent.
Maybe the close to 20 total is the other criminal
Oh,
endeavors that
oh yeah, like the
she was
domestic
involved in.
violence and all that stuff. I mean, yeah,
Domestic violence. So yeah, she was clearly a troubled person, and it's unfortunate that she didn't, receive any intervention to turn her life around. I will say this: want to shout out Maurice Shortall, my partner on the Cheap Heat Productions Wrestling podcast. He indicated, and on Facebook, there's a picture of him meeting Sunny, and he indicated that she was nothing but gracious to the fans and took time with everyone in terms of the signing that he met her at, and seemed to have, I guess a good appreciation for those that made her. But all that notwithstanding, we're dealing with someone that clearly was out of control in their personal life.
well, I mean, absolutely. I mean, when she's in the fans, of course she's going to be nice and she's going to be humble and she's going to treat her fans like gold. Especially if they're signing autographs and stuff. I mean, that's her job to give the fans an experience. But dude, I heard stories like DeVito even told me that bitch is bipolar. She, like I'm like Jack. Jack's like, I think he was bipolar because he never had that issue with me, but I always heard stories like a Joe Pesci type of situation. Oh, Jack, you're funny. What do you mean funny? What do you mean funny? How funny? Like Jack was that type of person. You say something wrong, he'll come back to you later. Like, what you mean by that? So like I said, she was a fuse, man. I mean, like I said, I never experienced her personally, but from the story, Dorito was good friends with her. He told me some stories that she's just batshit crazy, man. And that's the thing about her, that she's just had some issues. If she would have got that in check, take some medication, I mean, fuck it. She would have done Playboy. She would have done the porn thing. She would have done, TV. She could have been a co-host doing a talk show. She would have had a podcast. She would have just had tons of money. She would have done conventions. She would have been just constantly working. I think she would have been to this day still in demand. Especially if she would have stayed fit, like worked out or whatever and still looked thin, she would have definitely killed it. Like right now, I hate saying it, but she looks like shit. You know, I don't even I don't even fuck with your dick and you pushing. I mean, it just that's one thing, you guys out there, you got to remember, man. No matter how hot the girl is, no matter how good looking the guy is, look at Shawn Michaels, look at Tammy. That's what you got to deal with at the end of the day. At the end of the life, you got to make sure that you love that woman, love that guy, because they're not going to be forever gorgeous. And that's the key factor, man. And look what she turned into. She's just, again, I'm not knocking her. I'm just saying that's what you get at the end of the day once that train runs off the tracks. And, that's when you're in real love if you're going to stick it out with her like, you know what I'm saying?
What I find remarkable about her story is the fact that she was incarcerated a number of times, and that had zero deterrent effect on her behavior. So yeah, it seems that it's unfortunate, of course, that many commentators in the wrestling industry were saying this is a matter of time before something tragic happens, and it did. So within that background, what do you think her this is a two-part question that I'm famous for. First one being, what do you think her ultimate impact or legacy on the wrestling business will be as it stands right now? And what do you think it could have been if she hadn't gone down the path of personal destruction that she clearly blazed.
Well, she will always be remembered, like she has a legacy. She will always, it's like Chris Benoit. No matter, I mean, regardless of what Chris did, people just like push that out and just focus on the past, and I think people will appreciate her being a diva and people will still love her, people still worship her, but they worshiping that person from back in the days. If she would have kept her nose clean and she would have definitely, she could have been doing, like I said, so much shit. She could have been doing what's the shows before the pay-per-view when they sit in a panel and talk about stuff. She would have had constant work. She would have had constant work, and but she blew her money, and I'm just saying, like right now it's just sad, I mean, I don't know. She doesn't have anything to a pot to piss in now that she's gonna do 25.5 years, so I mean, but again, no matter what, they always could revert back and see, the old days and see how smoking hot she was and how influential she was to the women's wrestling and to, to the fans.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Kingpin, in terms of, you know, you made the analogous comparison to Chris Benoit, and there's an individual that in ring, man, Hall of Famer, legend, etc. But he turned out to be a terrible monster in his personal life, and not on the same level as Benoit, but that stain will always accompany the discussion with Sunny. There won't be the commentary that she was a pioneer and a legend. Maybe there will be. Sorry, maybe there will be those statements: pioneer, legend, first diva, blah blah blah. But she'll always have the fact that for whatever reason, and I'm not sitting here trying to judge people, but for whatever reason, she just couldn't keep it together. And really, when you think about it, aside from the really old school women's wrestlers, we're not really talking about a presence, in terms of modern history that could have been one that folks pointed to as a like a Babe Ruth of wrestling. What
Oh
Vince
yeah.
always here, Sonny could have been the Babe Ruth of the women's division, and treated much like Bruno Sammartino, not as an in-ring competitor, as you said, but just for her influence on the business. I want to pull up a comment from good friend of the show, the legendary Brian Costello, who indicated that he booked her once and only once. What a nightmare.
Like I said, don't bite the dick that fucks you, man. In the business, she just shits on the business, and that's the thing, man. This gives you your bread and butter. And like I said, I never ever been to a show. I was never intoxicated. I was never on gimmicks. I'm a professional. Once the show's over, yeah, you go get a couple cocktails, you go hang out with your friends. But I mean, I don't know what she did to him, but like I said, nobody's gonna use her now. She's I mean, unless she does a 360, but 25 years, 25.5 years. I mean, even if she got out in 15 years on good behavior, it's just, I don't know, man. The only thing I think could do is fucking like an interview, documentary, pay her for a book, like, hey, if you write a book, and people will buy it just to know the tragedy that, from her side, her perspective of what her downward spiral is. I mean, but look, she could come back, man. Look at Robert Downey Jr., man. He was gimmicked up and all that stuff, and he became Iron Man, and now he's got money coming out his ass. But that is like lightning in a bottle. So hopefully she could get out, or they reduce her sentence to like 5 years, 10 years. But until then, man, she needs Jesus in her life, and of course Jesus. He got her, and I don't know, man. I just wish her the best, man. I mean, I hate when I see the boys and the females in situations like that because, like I said, I'm not saying I don't like her. I just said we don't get along, but she doesn't deserve that.
Well, in terms of her her comeback. I think unless she's
Mae Young.
going to be involved, well, yeah, or involved in some shows inside one of the penitentiaries, which apparently in the U.S. has happened before. Your former colleague or boss or whatever, Dutch Mantel, talked about competing in some penitentiary shows. I think Sunny is probably on the shelf. What I probably, if I was a betting man, would predict that she will indeed find Jesus and turn her life around, at least for optical reasons. Anyway, regardless, it's a very sad tale. Again, not to minimize, her personal problems and demons, but we're talking about, an individual that ended up losing his life for no reason at all, but a ridiculously irresponsible repeat drunk driver taking his life. So don't know that man's name or his family, but definitely send sympathy to them, to be the unfortunate culmination of a situation that almost inevitably would end in tragedy one way or another.
Are you talking about the guy who she hit?
Yeah.
Julian Land Francis Laster. I see it here. That's why. So 75 years old, and that's a sad thing, I just don't understand how she could plead no contest, like not guilty. Bitch, you was in the car. You hit the motherfucker.
Well, no contest means no defense. It's an admission of guilt, but basically it's a legal technicality where, basically I'm not going to put up a defense to these charges. And apparently the case was so strong, obviously, that despite initial claims that there would be a vigorous defense or whatever, the evidence was so overwhelming that she couldn't. But Angel, I want to get your final thoughts on what if Sunny, and any insights that you can have for being a wrestler yourself and an in-ring competitor, and the pitfalls, the highs, the lows. What do you think a young aspiring either wrestler or otherwise talent in the industry can learn from Sunny?
I mean, humility, man. The thing is that, she is the blueprint of fuck ups. As long as you don't follow that path, and just live by her blueprint and just do the total opposite, you'll be successful. Because drinking ain't going to save your career. Popping pills ain't going to save your career. If you keep your nose clean, do what you're told, be a professional. That is your profession. That is your bread and butter. Then you'll be okay. But if you start following the boys, and again, the 90s and now are two different things. I don't think that people are on gimmicks the way they used to be. They're more like video games and fucking Pokemon cards. So I don't think anybody's going to fall in that pitfall, but just focus on your career, man. Make as much money as you can. Save as much money as you can. Don't buy yourself a big house, a fancy car, some massive bling. Focus on investing your money, because just like WWE just did, they just cut a bunch of people. And if people are living outside their means, buying big house for, styling and profile and jet flying, all that bullshit, then they're in trouble. But if you're smart with your money and you invest it, and you'll be okay. That's how I look at it.
Well, words of wisdom from a man that's walked the walk. Fans,
I learned from the best. I learned from the best.
Okay, no comment. Fans, we've reached the end of another edition of Shooting from the Hip podcast. We're working on additional episodes of the What If series. And just another reminder, if you have a topic that you would like to see covered on this podcast, please send it to either the Kingpin or myself. We're both reachable on Facebook, and we will throw that into the blender and come up with a schedule for those shows. Also, if you submit a lengthy explanation of your topic, we will have you on the show.
That'd be cool.
To do a run-in. Yep, to do a run-in and sit down and chop it up, as the great K-Dog Conan would say. So we'll look forward to your contributions in the weeks to come. But in the meantime, Angel, before we sign off, want to encourage you to sit back and fully heal and get ready for big things to come. What are your thoughts on that, sir?
I appreciate it. That's what I'm focusing on, eating right. That's why my healing is, taking a great toll, and hopefully once I get out of this cast, do some rehab, I'll be back in the swing of things. But I appreciate all the fans sending me their warm wishes and telling me, get well. It means a lot.
Absolutely. Well, fans, we've reached the end of our hour. Please reach out to us on social media if you have any suggestions for What If. We will always update you on thehannibaltv.com as to future episodes. If you haven't yet, why haven't you? Hit that subscribe button and you'll never miss an update, not only on this podcast, but all the other great content that the Hannibal TV provides on a weekly basis.
Absolutely.
Until then, take care, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates.